Masba Outdoors here. Wanted to share a video and talk a little bit about my crash protection that I put on the Husqvarna 701. I think it's an interesting dynamic. We buy these dual sport bikes, these light adventure bikes, the adventure bikes, and the first thing that everyone does is talk about crash protection, bark busters, breakaway mirrors, etc. Anybody who's not a adventure or dual sport rider would think it was odd that the first thing we do is think about a crash when you buy a motorcycle. I think most people think you want to avoid that. But the reality is when you're out in the woods, you do crash. So I'm gonna just out here in a afternoon, late November. We've already had a snow that inch or so that melted, so things are pretty wet and slippery. Nothing major. These are not difficult trails. And unfortunately, I got a little too on far to the right on the edge. You'll see it in a minute here on a puddle that was a little sloped with the recent melt. It was more muddy, and my front tire washed out. So again, not a difficult trail, not a difficult situation. Just happened to, be to the right by maybe an inch or so. My buddy went through it right afterwards. He saw me, so he stayed more towards the middle and got through no problem. So that just demonstrates that it is important to have crash protection, because the simplest thing when you're in the woods, could pull it over. This is the third time I put this bike down. The first two times I was actually stopped. I was going through a pretty deep mud puddle, tried to pop out of it and got a little sideways where my front tire was higher and my back tire was in a rut, and because my front tire got out. And I hit the brakes instead of just going for it, and I went to put my foot down and I was too high. Couldn't get through, and it just tipped over. Actually broke the clutch lever on that one. So as a result, I put in breakaway clutch levers. I still haven't put on bark busters. Didn't want to cut the end of the throttle body off to put that in yet, so I've been hesitating, but I will show you the result of the foldable. And then I did another one. It was a hill climb, was really wet, got stuck on a wet root, couldn't get out of it, just kept revving it up, trying to go through, and finally revved it up too much. The back tire spun out and I fell over. So two very minor drops. This is the first one that I was actually moving and fell over, and it would have been really nothing if it wasn't for that tree. Luckily, it was a small tree, but you saw I did crash into that little tree. So, wanted to kind of review what happened to the bike, and then share what I've done to it to prevent it from that. So, already mentioned the breakaway levers. I have that. I do have the Outback Motortech crash bars, and they did a great job. And I'll show you a quick picture as I review that. Obviously a skid plate. I have larger foot pegs, which actually helped keep the bike off. It was a little bit of a guard, and that's really it. I do have the windshield here, which is not crash protection, but you saw that windshield did hit the tree. The reason for that windshield is really to protect my phone. And I had this is the first ride with the new Garmin Zumo XT2. I actually didn't even have it plugged in. It kept shutting off. I was hoping to use battery, and that's something I learned about the side note about the Garmin Zumo. You need to have it powered to keep it on during the ride. So that was up higher, and it did get knocked down. I have since changed the position of both the phone and the Zumo XT to make it more protected. The windshield held up fine. The breakaway mirrors. They're not double takes, but they are breakaway mirrors. And they all survived. It did really well. I will show you the inspection of the bike after the fact. You can see here the foldable levers just folded up and didn't break. So you can see here where the Garmin got knocked down. My phone actually fell off the quad lock, which I was a little surprised about, right? We talk about, or the ads, and everyone talks about how rugged the quad lock is, but it knocked my phone off. But went right back on and just spun that back up and had to readjust the GPS. But again, since then I have moved all of this down out of the way, so it wasn't affecting, or it was less likely to get affected. There was the breakaway levers, looking at the crash bars and the radiator, which I was concerned about. The motor, this motor case, I guess, on the side, some leaves, etc. Those are just bobbins. I don't think they do any crash protection. But overall, really nothing happened to the bike. Picked it up, it drove away. My buddy did help me pick it up because it was, handlebars were on one side of the tree and I was on the other side of the tree. So I had to deal with that. I did put the Krega lift straps on the bike for the back and the front, which was nice to pick it up. Just grab those and lifted it right up. So that was a nice little, not crash protection, but helping you pick it back up without grabbing something that might break off. So really, glad I had all that protection and really, no effects to the bike. However, after I started riding, the check engine light was on, which surprised me, concerned me. Obviously, my biggest concern, well, not obviously, but my biggest concern is always like cracking the case and, having oil dripped out, because that could be, catastrophic damage. I stopped the bike, checked the oil, continued to check around the bike for any leaks, any cracks, could not find anything. Rode it some more, light was on, stopped again, checked. We then ended up stopping for a little longer, just really talking about it, and had a conversation. Probably stopped for almost 40 minutes, letting the adrenaline calm down. Although it wasn't a big crash, the adrenaline gets up there. And then after sitting, probably a half-hour ride, a 40-minute wait, so maybe an hour, hour and a half, the check engine light went off. So I don't know what that was about. I don't know why that was on, but just sharing that. Any Husqvarna owners, a slight put down that might happen, but eventually it just shut off, and I've been riding it, since, and there's been zero problems whatsoever. So I would think that's probably representative of a typical crash, right? Not very major, pretty, slight, or like I said, the other two that I've had where I, got in a situation, kind of got stuck, stopped, and just fell over. But because of breakaway mirrors, foldable levers, crash bars to protect the radiator, etc., skid plate, really no damage whatsoever. Pick it up and keep going. So I love these bikes. Love the fact that you can, push them, not afraid to drop it, and it just continues to go. So a lot of fun out here, but just wanted to share my experience with this little drop, and again, that it was really no big deal at all. So one thing I do want to point out is on the front tire, which washed out in this situation, it is still the original TKC 80, and I have 3,900 miles on the bike. The other two crashes happened after I put 2,000 miles on the rear TKC 80. So both drops, which were really, from the back tire losing traction, the last 200 miles of the original TKC 80. And with this one slipping out, I am thinking that this might be the case again, is that my front tire is starting to wear out. I did check it out. It does still have decent tread left on it. So, I'm not confident, I'm not convinced that was it. I think this was just laziness and not powering through the middle of the puddle. But I do want to note that once I put the new rear tire on, I had a lot better traction and didn't have any situations until this. So I do think tires and grip have a big effect on this. So again, crash protection, I wanted to add that the tires, I think, and the grip you have, will help prevent crashes. So really more proactive prevention of crashes. So thank you for watching. I hope you appreciated the video, and I would appreciate a like. And if you're interested in more 701 and other videos, please subscribe.